Greetings all, welcome to this slightly pre-festive season session. Might feel a bit early to be thinking about your Christmas campaigns, but the date will come around quickly, and if you have lots of connections, you need to get it moving. So today you're joined by myself, Jo Henderson. I work in the marketing team, and today's expert, Head of Professional Services, Giles Garnett. Hi, Giles.
Hello.
Today's session is super short. We're looking at about 30 minutes long, depending on the number of questions we get from our lovely audience. So if you do have any questions, add them into the question box on the GoToWebinar dashboard as we go. And any useful links that we mention, we will put in the chat function so you can save these for future reference too. If you're an existing user, don't forget to leave us a G2 review because we love them a lot, and we'll send the link over to you as we get cracking. And if you're new to Dux-Soup, then I will also share a free trial link with you because, let's face it, this might be the perfect opportunity to actually try the free trial out and get all those messages sent. So as always, we'll also send the recording to you later today after the session has closed, and then you can recap anything that you've missed. So without further ado, I'm going to hand straight over to Giles. Giles, off you go.
Thanks, Jo, and hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever you may be in the world, and thank you once again for joining us for today's Dux-Soup webinar. As you can tell, I'm not in my usual place, so apologies if things are a little bit chaotic, but I'm trying to run this from one screen rather than multiple like normal. Also, I feel like I should apologise. It's still November, but it's a festive themed webinar. I think it's important actually though that we give you guys enough time to get your messages out in advance of Christmas. We've done this before. We've done this very similar webinar before in the past over the last few years. And one of the regular bits of feedback we get is, well, you've told us to do this on the 10th of December or the 15th of December, and I've got 10,000 connections and I'm never going to reach them all. So now you've got nearly a month to get all of these messages out, if Christmas is, of course, your target for getting those greetings out. So today's agenda. How you can send a personalized festive greeting to your existing first degree connections using Pro, Turbo or Cloud. Now you could actually do this using InMail as well, just thought of that as well. So you could play around with this sort of theory and InMail as well, but we'll come on to that a bit later. Which free creative tools are available? Well, we'll just give you a couple of examples. Just if you want to find alternatives, just type in the name of the tools that we're giving you and just type in whatever the name of the tool, an alternative, in the Google search, and you'll find some alternatives. There are many, many different versions of different things out there, so have a look. We've got a blog post which outlines everything I'm going to go through, which means I'm going to go through this quite quickly because it's all already documented on a blog post, which hopefully Jo will share with you shortly during the course of the call.
Certainly will.
Most importantly, time for questions and answers towards the end as well. So let's crack on straight away. So we're going to send a festive greeting in 6 steps. This will be a very quick 6-step slide. We'll just go through them, and then we'll go through each step one at a time live. I won't be waiting for you to keep up because, yeah, good luck with that if you want to, but I'm going to try and go through this fairly quickly because then, as I say, you can follow the blog post that we've got. So first of all, step number 1, we need to find an image. Either create an image, find one from somewhere, whatever your choice may be. You upload it to a service such as, in this case, Nifty Images. That allows us to add a customization layer so we can add a name or some sort of personal greeting into that image. Then we grab the URL from our platform, Nifty Images, and then we put it through a URL shortener, such as tinyURL. Add the URL and personalization to our message and campaign in Dux-Soup. Finally, just enroll or auto visit your prospects, or I should say connections, really. So let's go all through all of that. First of all, we're going to find or create an image. Now, with a little bit of luck, here we go. I'm in Nifty Images here. Hopefully everybody can see what I'm sharing. Here in Nifty Images, we're going to go and find an image. So I'm going to create an image. To go through step by step what we're going to do here, we're going to create a personalized image. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to upload an image that I grabbed earlier. So we've got one here. It's just a screenshot of that image that we saw. This will take a couple of seconds to upload. So while this is happening here, the process we're going through here is we're going to create an image. We're going to add a layer so we can put something personal on there, like a name, and then we're going to do all of the other bits and pieces. So here we go. Here's our image just created there. Season's greetings from everyone here at Dux-Soup. There we go, we've got our image. So let's just nip back to our slides a second. We've got our image, and Make sure it's appropriate for your audience. Depending on where you are, depending on all sorts of factors, make sure you're targeting the right people with the right sort of image. We're going to upload our image like I've just done there, so we can then add a customization layer in Nifty Images. There we are. So we've done step 2 already. So now we're going to edit our image and we're going to add that customization layer. So let's go back to our Nifty Images. We're going to here use the merge tag layer here, and we're going to add just a name. There we go. So if I do that, it comes up with it comes up with Giles Dux-Soup. So now let's edit this a little bit so it's hopefully a bit more central, and we don't want to have Giles Dux-Soup in there. We want to just put Giles in there. Oh, if we could spell, that would be useful, wouldn't it? There we go. I've got my name in there. You can centralize it. There we go. And we can also play with the font in this case. We could change the color, we could change the size. There we go. We've just changed that. Well, let's make sure that's a bit more central. That's not very central, is it? That's a little bit better. There we go. So now there we've got a very simple example here. We've inserted a layer on top of our image, so we've got that saved there. Now I'm going to save this, and I'm going to give this a name. So I'm going to call it 2024 Dux Festive Greeting. There we go. We have now saved our image. And what we then get is our URL here. So this gives us here the URL as to how to get to our name. And we've got here, you can see here, there's a merge tag here, which is where we can pull out the name of the target that we're aiming for. We're going to come back to that in a second. Let's nip back to the slides. There we are. We've generated our URL. That's the step that we've just done. Now we can shorten the URL if we want to. We don't have to do this. Remember, the only bit we're interested in the URL here is actually only up to the question mark. So we're going to take this bit here. There we are. We're going to take that sectionable from HTTPS, blah, 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 up to there. There we go. We're going to take that portion of the URL because that's the only bit that's actually going to point towards the image. And then we can use Dux-Soup to pull out the name of our target. If we now go to our URL shortener, in this case, I'm going to just use tinyURL. Others are available. I can put in my long link here. There we go. And very quickly, I can create a much shorter URL. So there we go. I've got my tiny URL here. There we go. I can copy that. Once we've generated our URL and shortened it, we now add it to our Dux-Soup messaging. This is where it depends upon which version of Dux-Soup as to what you do. So we're going to do in 2 steps. We're going to do Pro first, and then we'll do Turbo and Cloud afterwards. So let's go back to our browser, and we are going to click on our Dux-Soup extension icon. We're going to go to our Dux-Soup options here, and here we're going to be sending a personalized message to our first degree connections. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I know that's sometimes a bit small for people. There we go. Hopefully that's a bit better. Now we're in Pro. I've got Turbo license here, but if we're using Pro, this is the option we want to do here. And I've already started my message, and what we've got here now, I'm going to put my tiny URL in here. Then I've got my question mark name, which is the merge tag information that I need. Name equals _FN_, which remember is our first name that we can use here. There we go. I've now saved that. That is now saved in my Dux-Soup Pro environment. All I now need to do if I'm a Pro user is go into my LinkedIn account. I could go to Sales Navigator as well, but there's a reason why you might want to do this in regular LinkedIn, and I'll come on to that in a minute. I could now just go my network, go and have a look at my list of first degree connections, probably filter this list a little bit. So let's, because I've got 3,800, I probably don't want to send it to all 3,000, or I can't send it to all 3,800. So maybe I want to send it to everybody who's based in, I don't know, let's go London. There we go. Let's see how many people I've got in London. There we are, 245. Perfect. It's under the 1,000. Remember, we can only see 1,000 results here. There we go. Now I can literally just say, right, Dux-Soup, please go and visit these profiles. Now there's something else you would want to do if you're using Pro. So this is important. We want to make sure we're not repeatedly sending the same message to people. So what I would do, what I would advise, When we're sending a message like this, make sure you tag the profiles with a tag, Christmas 2024. There we go. I'm going to tag everybody I send this message to so they get this tag. And then I'm going to copy that tag. And I'm going to say, right, if people have already got that tag, please don't send that message again. So I'm going to use the skipping rule here, Christmas 2024, if they've already got that tag, because maybe I'm going to be running this against various lists. Here I've done a quick and dirty search for a few people who are based in London, and I can now go and visit these profiles and send that message. Perfect. But I want to make sure that if those people come up in another search, I don't send that message again, because that would look a bit daft. And that's, of course, one thing we don't want to do when we're doing this. So very quickly there, we've grabbed our URL from our image. We've used the URL shortener, and then we've put the text appropriately in here so that that's all captured there. And that's all we need to do with Pro. Now we go from our search result. We say, thank you very much. Visit profiles. Dux-Soup starts at the top of the list, following our rules, opening each profile in turn, and sending that message for you. Simple as that. So that's the Pro version. If we're using Turbo or Cloud, we can create a campaign and then just enroll our people into the campaign. So how do we create a campaign? Now remember, if you've not used Dux-Soup before, when you first install Dux-Soup, you get 2 weeks free of Turbo. So theoretically, if you've not used Dux-Soup before, you could go and install it. You've got 2 weeks free. Quick, get all my Christmas messages out. Bingo, you're very, very happy there. You can get out a lot of messages in a 2-week period. If we click on our Dux-Soup icon, we go down to our Dux Dash here. Here in our Dux Dash, remember, this is where we create all of our campaign content and our outreach methodologies. If we go in here, over on the left-hand side, we go to our drip campaigns here. And here's one I prepared earlier, Festive Greeting 2024. Right, so again, I've got here just a campaign. Now I've put a couple of visits in this just to make sure that, you know, I've got some buffers in there so I don't immediately send out all my messages straight away. Remember, we're in November still, so maybe I don't want this message to go out until December. So we'll maybe put a 6-day delay in here. So the first thing Dux-Soup's going to do is going to visit the profile. It's going to then send my follow-up message in from 6 days onwards there. And what I'm going to do is, if I go, oh no, that way, paste my, oh no, I've got the wrong thing. I need to copy and paste my URL, don't I? There we go. Where's my URL again? Bam. There it is. We'll copy that one. We'll go to our campaign. There we go. There's our campaign built. Now, we don't have to put another visit in there. We could, of course, put another message in there, which is a Happy New Year message, which goes out maybe 30 days later. It's an alternative as well. We could also do that. I'm just going to save that campaign there a second. Now, I pertained to this earlier. I'm running this in regular LinkedIn. There's a very good reason why you would probably want to run this in regular LinkedIn as opposed to Sales Navigator. That reason is that when you send a message with a URL in it, in Sales Navigator, people just see the hyperlink. They just see literally the hyperlink, and that's it. If you send a URL in regular LinkedIn, I can see here by an example, if we open my messaging here, you see here the thumbnail. So this here is how it will appear in regular LinkedIn. Of course, your target can then click on it and open the profile full screen, and they'll see the message properly. But actually, it's most effective because they see here the thumbnail of what you've sent them straight away, so they know that you're sending them something genuine. It's a proper greeting, and you can see there how it then defines itself here in the URL that's displayed. So that's why when you're defining your campaign here, you probably want to use regular LinkedIn to send this message out. There we are. We've got my festive greeting campaigns defined here. Remember, this is exactly the same in both Turbo and Cloud editions of Dux-Soup. We've got our campaign built. Now, if I go to my LinkedIn search result that I had here earlier, well, first of all, I could go down here. The campaign's off at the moment, so I can't select it. I could go and individually enroll people into my campaign in here, but we know that that's not the most efficient or effective way to work. We can click on our Dux-Soup extension icon, go enroll profiles. We can then select our campaign. There we are, Festive Greeting 2024. I could go here and go 245, and away we go. And Dux-Soup will then take the first 245 people who have not gone into this campaign before. This is one of the differences between Pro and Turbo and Cloud. With Turbo and Cloud, you can't put someone in the same campaign twice. So Dux-Soup will automatically recognize if someone's got in there already and skip past that person and go on to the next prospect. So you don't have to do that tagging and skipping rule, et cetera, in Turbo and Cloud. With Pro, you need to make sure you're tagging people and then skipping them to make sure you're not repeatedly sending those same messages. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to very quickly just put 10 people in there. There we go. Dux-Soup will now enroll the first 10 people that it sees here into that campaign and queue up those actions, which in this case are starting with an auto visit, and then 6 days later will be my message. Let's just pop back to the slides a second. So yeah, we've added the message, the Dux-Soup message to the campaign, to our Dux-Soup messaging, the direct messages, or our campaign with the appropriate markers. We've taken that URL accordingly. And then step 6, there we are. We've found our first degree contacts and set up the message and set off to auto visit if we're using Pro. In Turbo and Cloud, we've created a campaign, found our targets, and then just enrolled them into that campaign. Very straightforward, really quick to do. The thing that will take the most amount of time is actually finding a good image that you're happy with, setting up that merge text field, and making sure that you've got all of that configured correctly. But we've got a brilliant blog post which is prepared previously, and we use it regularly, not just for festive greetings. It can be for all sorts of other promotions as well. And people often think, oh, we're going to do this for festive. No, if you've got a promotion going on, if you've got some sort of special offer or information you want to get out to people with personalization of any sort on it, you can use exactly the same theory to reach out to people in bulk. Tool suggestions, I've mentioned them already, but we're going to mention them again. We've got nifty images where you can create and edit images with a custom layer option, and that makes it so super useful. And then of course tiny URL to shorten your URLs. That's not always necessary, but it kind of neatens things up a little bit. Last of all, Dux-Soup. Use Dux-Soup to automate your LinkedIn outreach. We've got the free versions, we've got the free trial, and I've been told to reminded to mention this, we've got our Black Friday special offer on until the end of the month as well. Hopefully Joe can put the link into that in the chat box so that you can all make use of that code that's available as well.
I have shared it, and I popped a slide in here as well, Giles, just to remind us both not to forget.
Excellent. Now I've got some top tips. We've covered most of these already, but there's a couple of things I want to mention in here. You can send several hundred messages to first degree connections per day, especially if you have a paid LinkedIn account. Now, this is always one of those things. It's all about throttling and how much can we do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We've covered this many times on our webinar program before, but I can't reinforce this enough. We just nip back to our Dux-Soup options. Where were we? That one there. Let's go to our Dux-Soup options. Now, remember when most of you, when you first install Dux-Soup, this is what you see in your Dux-Soup options. You see a fairly limited menu here. If you go to the user tab and you select the expert user type here, that opens up various other options for you here to be able to see, to give you a few more things that you can do. And the important thing here is the throttling. That's what we're predominantly looking at here. This is where we can define how many actions Dux-Soup can carry out for us per day. If you have a sizable first degree network and you want to be reaching out to a few hundred people or maybe a few thousand people, you need to think about how you're going to do that. And you can do that here with the direct messages. You see here mine is set to 200 per day. Now, if you've got a paid LinkedIn account, you can be sending a significant number of direct messages per day. If you're running a free account, you'll be able to do some. You probably won't be able to do quite as many as that, maybe 100, maybe you'll be able to warm it up. But all of these things you can warm up over time. So the default settings with Dux-Soup, I believe, are this. So detect, leave it to us, connection request 25, direct messages 100. For many people, that is enough. But if you are a LinkedIn Power user, Sales Navigator user, maybe a Recruiter user, you want to maybe you've got 8, 10, 15,000 first degree connections. You want to get to as many of them in as short a time as possible. I would recommend looking to increase the number of visits. Remember, every time Dux-Soup carries out an action, it has to visit somebody. So if it needs to send a message, you need to send a connection request or a direct message, it has to visit a profile. So if you look at first step, go to 250 a day, and then you can see here, well, my direct messages plus my connection requests is half of this. Well, okay, in that case, maybe I'll go to 150 direct messages. And then maybe after a few days, you creep it up a step. Don't go in straight away and try and send 500 or 1,000 messages per day. You'll just end up setting off all sort of alarm bells at LinkedIn HQ. So be sensible, follow the guidelines that you see on our website around these numbers. But sending messages to first degree connections is a low risk activity, relatively low risk activity, as long as you're not spamming people. If it's a nice, welcoming message, it's a friendly conversational message, you know, you could have your image going with, you know, maybe it's followed up by another quick message as well with a bit more text in it as well. Or maybe you put your text in the image as well. All sorts of possibilities there. So think about the numbers there. So that's number one. With Pro, you have to use your first degree messaging, direct messaging, and tag those people you send it to, and use your skipping rules to make sure you're not sending it twice, because there's nothing worse than doing that. Honestly, don't want to do that at all. With Turbo and Cloud, we just create a campaign and enroll them and send using regular LinkedIn, because then you get the thumbnail view for your prospect or your target or your first degree connection gets the thumbnail view. If you do it in Sales Navigator, they just see the URL and it's a little bit moi. Yeah. That was a whistle stop tour. Joe, are there any questions coming in?
Oh, hello. Sorry, I keep pressing mute. We've only got one, I think. It's from Paul.
Okay.
Why do you need to add the person's name to the end of the link, i.e. after the inverted commas question mark, instead of just adding the FN function at the start of the message?
Because we're using a URL here, we're making use of you. I mean, you could do that. You could have it in your message if you wanted to, but then that defeats the purpose of having, you know, an image that has some customization in it. Here, for example. So here, now I've created an image which looks like, in this case, for my colleague Vlada. There we go. That's what the image looks like. Of course, you could put the festive greeting, you could put a name in there, but the idea of this is to build an image with some personalization. It just looks a little bit nicer, a little bit neater, and you can do so much more with it. That's why we have here, why we use the merge tag effectively here. But the idea here is to create a custom URL that pulls out the first name. It looks a bit neater, and when they click on it, they see, oh, look, it's directly to me. It's genuinely for me. It's not just a whatever. It's not just a generic picture. It's actually there's something else to it, and that's really the purpose of this. We've seen this been incredibly beneficial for people. It's a great conversation starter as well. So think of it in different ways. It doesn't have to be a festive greeting. This one is very Christmassy message, but there's all sorts of different things you could do with this, of course. So yeah, have a play around with it, see what comes up. The idea here is to show you what some of the possibilities are that are available out there, and give you ideas to sort of maybe take it to another level. We do see people using this this sort of theory in many different ways.
It's a nice kind of way to interact with people, isn't it? Rather than just keep more written content at them all the time via our messaging.
Yeah.
It's quite nice to give them a little pretty picture to look at instead for a change. Paul's given us a thumbs up. Thanks, Paul.
Cool. Thanks, Paul.
And in actual fact, that's our only question today, which is shocking, really, but it must mean that we've had a really good session and you've covered everything. I have
Either that or nobody's listening to me, which is always possible as well.
No, everyone does look fairly active on here. I've sent out links to our LinkedIn safety guidelines, our LinkedIn limit documents. I've shared the blog article that we did. Actually, it was a couple of years ago now, but it's still relevant. They're all updated, and it goes through.
I think there's a different image in that one, isn't there? We've got a slightly different image in the blog, I think, as well.
Slightly different image. Yeah, I think I made a snowman for that one, but yeah, it's still the same process, the same steps to go through. Now, if you just jump onto the next slide, Giles, I've managed to hopefully sneak in a Black Friday slide while you were talking.
Well, this is the most important one.
Ah, maybe I did it afterwards. Let's do this one instead then. So our next webinar is on the 10th of December when we're going to be having a look at Salesforce and it's our new integration. So we'll be covering a few different bits and pieces. We'll be looking at how to set up your Dux-Soup and Salesforce environments. We'll be looking at how you decide which contacts to transfer to your CRM. We'll be looking at how you can configure your account to view your LinkedIn message exchanges in Salesforce and the trigger actions from Salesforce that you can execute in LinkedIn. So I'm a little bit new to this myself. My understanding is you can actually work Salesforce and Dux-Soup and not even need to go into LinkedIn. Is that right, Giles?
Yeah, but basically, I mean, you can configure your Dux-Soup environment, so speaking to Salesforce, and once you've got the LinkedIn URLs in Salesforce, you can then trigger actions from within Salesforce without even having to go into LinkedIn. It's a very similar model to what we see with our Pipedrive, HubSpot, etc., other integrations, because you will also get your LinkedIn conversations appearing in Salesforce. Yeah, really excited about this. We had to play around with this last week. And yeah, it's going to be available, I think, as of this evening, officially in our live environment. So if you are a Salesforce user and you want to go and have a play around with it, I think you'll find that the support documentation will be updated this evening, and everything from this evening, my time, European time, will be available. So yeah, hugely excited. It's one of the most requested integrations that we've had with CRMs, and yeah, it's fantastic that we've got this out there, and it's going to be a real benefit to many users.
Yeah, it's actually been our 2024 top requested from our users. So you asked and we did it. We did what we were told. So hopefully I've just pasted the link in again into the chat function. So if you want to register for that in 2 weeks' time, then please do.
And I think Scott will be joining us for that one as well if he's not too jet lagged.
Yeah, so the team will be in London tomorrow at the London Excel for the B2B Marketing Expo. So we're all flying in from all over the shop to get our asses in to get there. Hence why Giles is not in his normal venue, and Scott isn't with us today, although he wanted to be. So yeah. I think the Black Friday one, let me see if I can grab the link quickly. I did share the link to the Black Friday page, so you can all have a look on that. Again, that's in the chat, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. If I go to the Dux-Soup homepage, and hopefully everyone can still see my screen. If I go to the Dux-Soup homepage, if you scroll down far enough, you'll see down the bottom here, it just pops up at the bottom. Click Learn More, and that's where the Black Friday deal is. You can copy the promo code from here, so when you then go into your to pay, you get the option to put in the code, and that's where you can put the code in. I'm losing words. You can see all the pricing here, and remember, it's 24% off your first bill. So if you're paying monthly, then it gets 24% off your first bill. If you're paying annually, it's 24% off the whole year. So it's a fantastic deal, especially if you're looking at an annual contract.
And if you go along to the expo, I think we're even giving away a bit more than that. So if anyone's going along tomorrow, then we'll see you there in person. What else have we got on those slides? I think that was about it.
You mentioned G2 already. We've got our normal support slide, which, if you need help, our support team is available. As always, best thing to do if you are stuck, email them. There's the email address, info@dux-soup.com, or via the website, and we will do our best to make sure that any of your questions are answered.
Fabulous. Thank you for joining us today for our very, look at it, 16:30, that's bang on the dot. Well done, Giles.
Hang on, that was good, wasn't it?
It was the best ever, wasn't it? We should have bet on that one. So nice to see you all. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully we'll see a lot of you in a couple of weeks' time. Nice one, Giles. Thanks for reminding us and walking us through that. And I'm just going to wave hi to Sam today to send her a little hello.
All right. Thanks everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.